is the Nintendo Switch 2 Pro Controller the best controller to use for Splatoon? Now, I have played an insane amount of Splatoon on the Nintendo Switch Pro controllers, and today I wanted to do a full in-depth comparison of 4 different controllers for the Nintendo Switch 2 and figure out which one is actually the very best and which one you should even get for your Nintendo Switch 2, just regular games, or if you're playing it specifically for Splatoon, of course, if you're subscribed to my channel. So in front of me, I have 3 different Pro controllers that we're going to be talking about for today. This, of course, is the Nintendo Switch 2 Pro controller. The controller on my left is my old regular Nintendo Switch Pro controller, the Pro Controller 1. And this controller on the right is my Pro GCC 3.2. Visually, it looks like a regular Nintendo Switch Pro Controller 1, but I can assure you it does not act like one and has a bunch of different stuff going on inside it that, of course, I will explain today. I'm going to try my best to talk about these as in depth as I possibly can. I'm going to be talking about the sticks, I'm going to be talking about the gyro performance, I'm going to talk about its general feel, the size, and all that jazz. So hopefully this comes across to you guys as clear as possible, so let's get into it. Now, I did say I was going to be comparing 4 different controllers for Splatoon. As you can see, we have the 3 Pro controllers, but over here, we do need to talk about the Joy-Con 2. Now, the Joy-Con 2 controller on the Nintendo Switch 2 is definitely an upgrade in comparison to the old Joy-Con controllers on the Nintendo Switch 1. I think the most noteworthy thing about the Joy-Con 2 controller is that the size of the Joy-Cons are much bigger than the old ones. I wouldn't say that this is the size of a regular Pro controller, but it definitely does feel that there's a lot more in your hands when you're holding it. Another thing too to add on is that while the size being bigger, the sticks are slightly bigger, ever so slightly, and they definitely feel a whole lot more premium than the old Joy-Con controllers. Now, how is the Joy-Con 2 gyro performance and how does it handle as a controller when playing Splatoon? And if I'm gonna give my honest opinion, this is actually a massive upgrade in comparison to the old Joy-Cons, because I feel like when you play on this controller, I find that the Joy-Con 2 controller is actually a whole lot less prone to wireless interference in comparison to the old Joy-Cons, because I noticed a bunch of times when I tried playing Splatoon on the Joy-Con 1s, it was very much prone to a lot of interference and it would tend to like disconnect on me, or the gyro would just kind of like skip a little bit. I feel like on the Joy-Con 1 controller, it wouldn't even track as well, but the Joy-Con 2s, I feel like the gyro performance is actually just really pleasant to play on. Now, I definitely would say this is not my preferred way to play Splatoon. I definitely would not want to be playing on Joy-Cons because, at least for myself, since the Joy-Cons, of course, are magnetic, on the, I guess, the grip controller, they had to open up this specific area just so that the Joy-Con 2 can detach from the controller or detach from the grip itself. And I understand that, but the thing is, I feel like what it is, it's sacrificing a little bit more, I guess, comfort, because I feel like when I hold the controller, I always notice that there's a gap in between the Joy-Con 2 and the grip itself. So it's like, I feel like there's like something missing on my palm. So in a way, it makes it a little bit uncomfortable to hold. But apart from that, it honestly is a great step up compared to the first Joy-Cons on the Switch 1. Now let's talk about the Switch 1 controller and how it compares to the Switch 2 controller. So for the past 8 years, the Pro Controller 1 has been an amazing controller, no doubt. If you're watching this video, you're probably already really familiar with the Switch 1 Pro controller's shape. It's a very comfortable controller to use while playing on the Nintendo Switch 2. The very fortunate thing too is that the Pro Controller 1 is actually compatible with the Nintendo Switch 2 as well. So I think the thing that people want to know right now is just that, how does this controller handle when playing Splatoon? And I'm going to be really honest, gyro performance using the Pro Con 1 on the Nintendo Switch 2 actually performs exceptionally well. And I think it's due to a couple of reasons. One, I'm playing on a stronger console, and 2, wired performance actually works like it's supposed to on the Nintendo Switch 2. If you have been playing on the Nintendo Switch 1 using a Pro controller and had this setting on, Nintendo Switch Pro controller wired communication, while this setting would be known as being a good thing because you could have the lowest latency from your controller inputs towards your console itself, the thing is, regular Switch Pro controllers would have had an extra 1 or 2 frames if this setting was on. And because of that, it made playing Splatoon way more sluggish if you were to play using a wire. That's actually why a majority of people actually opted to play wireless on the Nintendo Switch 1 because there was less input lag while using the option, which of course does not make a lot of sense. Fortunately, on the Nintendo Switch 2, they fixed this issue where you don't have that extra frame of input lag, and you can actually play on the Nintendo Switch 1 Pro Controller with almost little to no issue. Now, honestly, it is a great controller, but when Nintendo went ahead and made this thing, it really blew the regular OG Switch Pro Controller out of the park. The Nintendo Switch 2 Pro Controller is also an extremely comfortable controller. I think the thing you will notice though with this controller, it's actually slightly smaller than the regular Pro Controller. It has all the features of a regular Pro Controller, but a little more. You of course have this extra button, the C button, which is the game chat function, which I honestly don't think most of you guys are going to be really using if you're using Discord, but it also does come with a GL and GR button that you can program to any single button that is already currently on your controller. Another thing too about this controller is about how quiet the controller is and how smooth the sticks are. Like, you really have to feel it for yourself to notice like how smooth and how like slick the sticks are when you're actually moving them around. It's generally really satisfying. In terms of the buttons, both Pro controllers are quite similar to each other and there's not really much difference with them, besides of course the plus and minus button protruding out a little bit more. It also comes with a headphone jack to listen to your game while playing. Now let's talk about the gyro performance on this specific controller. The gyro performance of this Pro controller and how it handles it 100%, it's leagues better over the Nintendo Switch 1 Pro controller. The thing you're going to notice when using this controller using gyro control is how, I guess, accurate the gyro sensor is. Like, it definitely is a thing that they have upgraded the gyro sensor specifically with this controller compared to the old single gyro sensor that is in the Pro Controller 1. You will notice that the gyro control is just a whole lot smoother. Like, it's a really smooth feeling gyro. It's different. Like, the first time I played on this thing, like, you noticed that I was just like, whoa, this is a very different feeling of gyro that I've never felt before, at least on this game. So Pro Controller 2 controls a whole lot better than the Switch 1 Pro Controller. And of course, on top of controlling better than the Pro Controller 1, this controller also has Hall effect sticks, which the Pro Controller 1 does not have, which is definitely a nice upgrade compared to the Pro Controller 1. The only thing though about it is that this controller only works for the Nintendo Switch 2. If you try using this thing on Switch 1, it's not going to work, which I guess is one thing that the regular Pro Controller has over the Nintendo Switch 2. It's just that it's more compatible currently to this day. Now, while the Switch 2 Pro Controller is of course an amazing controller, there is one more controller that we have to talk about, and this is the Pro GCC 3.2. And currently, this is actually still my main controller that I'm using for the Switch 2. And there's actually a number of reasons for why I still actually use this controller over the Switch 2 Pro controller. So let's go ahead and actually talk about it. But just to, I guess, talk about what the Pro GCC actually is, it is basically a competitive Pro controller that doesn't have the same motherboard that is, I guess, the same as like a regular Pro controller. Like I said, visually, it looks like a Pro controller, but inside, it actually has a different PCB. Now, like I said, this is a competitive Pro controller, and I guess the goal of what this controller was all about is that when that wide input lag issue was a thing on the Switch 1, the Pro GCC was actually made to be able to fix that and actually remove the extra frames of input lag, so you can actually plug in your Pro controller and use wide input, not experiencing any more input delay. And if we're just talking about the Switch 1, yeah, this controller is just definitely better than the original Switch Pro controller. This Pro controller was built to have the lowest input latency possible for the Nintendo Switch. I don't think you guys actually noticed too, but the D-pad on the Pro GCC also is actually slightly different. You would notice on mine, it's actually a split D-pad, so you can actually tell exactly which button input you're actually pressing into on the D-pad, compared to, of course, the Nintendo Switch 2 Pro Controller, which of course is the exact same D-pad on Pro Controller 1 as well. So these D-pads are not too much different, but on the Pro GCC, it's actually split, so you can actually tell exactly which button you're pressing. Now, I think the next interesting thing to talk about is the gyro performance on the Pro GCC compared to the Switch 2 Pro Controller. Also, as you can probably notice, yes, the Pro GCC lights up in many different colors, and you can of course choose any different color for any different button that you choose in the firmware, which I'll show a little bit after. But the gyro performance, now, like I said, This controller looks visually like a Pro controller, but the internals are a little bit different. The thing about the Pro GCC is that it has a dual gyro sensor, which I believe the Pro controller one has a single one, but this controller has a dual gyro sensor, which actually is just a much more accurate gyro sensor compared to the Pro controller one. So just when generally playing, gyro performance on this controller is absolutely amazing, just like this Nintendo Switch 2 Pro controller. I think the main difference is, though, this controller is definitely not as smooth. And it's not the thing where that's a bad thing, where it doesn't feel like smooth like the Switch 2 Pro controller. It's just that the gyro performance works so well, but has more of a raw feeling to it. It feels like with every single frame, you're in control of where the gyro or where the crosshair is moving. Except on the Switch 2 Pro controller, it's like when you move with gyro, you can feel this kind of like butter slick kind of feeling, but this controller doesn't feel like it has that slick feeling. It has that more, I guess, controlled feeling, or you have more control exactly where you put your crosshair. The thing is, though, that both gyro sensors, the one on the Switch 2 Pro Con and the Pro GCC, both work just fine. They're both just as accurate as each other, to be honest. It's kind of the thing that there isn't really much difference between the two. It's just that they both feel much better than the Switch 1 Pro controller. And generally, I just believe it's just because the gyro sensors in both these controllers are just much better than Switch 1. Now, the gyro sensors are both accurate on both Switch 2 controller and the Pro GCC. But why do I still use the Pro GCC over the Nintendo Switch 2 Pro controller? The reason being is because of the easy to use custom firmware that the Pro GCC actually has. So let me just give you guys a short tour of this controller in general. Of course, I can just connect it, the Pro GCC 3.2, connect and pair. So now it's connected, I can give you guys a short tour of this. So of course, in the firmware, you can check gamepad. Pro GCC has like 6 different modes. Of course, on remap with the same modes, you can choose wherever you want to place the buttons, of course, if you want to change them up in any sort of way. In the joystick tab, this is an option that I really like. You can actually change the dead zone on the Pro GCC, which is also very cool. Changing the dead zone, of course, makes it so that your left stick or right stick can actually respond a little bit earlier when you move it from the middle of the dead zone. So in a way, of course, it makes it so the actions of your sticks actually come out faster, which can be very helpful for a game like Splatoon using the squid roll, or of course a game like Smash, of course. RGB, you can change the colors of this thing, so you can change it to whatever color code that you want with any single button that is present here. If I want to change the B button, I can change it to be yellow, do something like that, and of course now you can see that the B button has turned yellow. You can calibrate gyro with this, but honestly, like, you don't even really need to, because out of the box the default calibration is absolutely perfect for Splatoon. But yeah, honestly, apart from the sticks and of course the RGB, of course you can customize the controller however you want in many different kinds of ways. And pretty much this is one of the reasons for why I still use my Pro GCC. Like, the gyro performance of this thing is just as good on the Switch 2 Pro controller. This controller works for both Switch 1 and Switch 2, which is just a given. The makers of this controller, Handheld Legends, can do firmware updates of course, whenever it's necessary or needed. This controller has pretty much all the features of the Switch 2 Pro controller, except of course the backwards buttons and the C buttons. This controller also has Hall effect sticks. It has a really good snapback filter as well, and a bunch of other really useful features that makes this controller what it is right now. So clearly, we have 2 amazing controllers, the Nintendo Switch 2 Pro controller and of course the Pro GCC. These 2 controllers are both good, and honestly, if you were to get either one of them, you could not go wrong. I think both these controllers are both very good for what they do. If you did want to get a Pro GCC and have the extra features and all that type of stuff, there will be a link in the description below, and of course, use code DUDE10 to get 10% off this controller, because I'm sure a bunch of you guys would love to save money somewhere. That is an option, and if you do, of course, it does help my channel as well. And if you did want to get a Switch 2 Pro controller, then go ahead and pick one up. I have links in the description below for this controller as well. Quite honestly, which one is the best controller? In my opinion, they're both just as good. In all honesty, it comes down to which one do you prefer. If you are still on a regular Pro controller, then if you were to get one of these 2, you cannot go wrong. But honestly, that's where I'm at. I still use my Pro GCC. I'm still going to continue using it because it's, out of the 2, it's my favorite. And I do like that it's slightly bigger than the Pro controller 2. But all in all, I hope this explained a whole bunch to you guys and gave you guys more thought whether you should stick to with your Pro Controller 1 or you should get a Switch 2 Pro Controller or if you should get a Pro GCC. Let me know in the comment section below. Let me know your thoughts, and if this was helpful to you, please let me know as well. And if there's anything more that you need to know, comment section and Discord and anything that like that. So thank you so much guys for watching this video. This is a long one to make and get you guys as much info as possible for the Switch 2, of course. And you know, I hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure to like, subscribe to the channel as well, and of course comment. And that's all I gotta say. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I shall see you guys in a future video.